Today on the show, I'm so grateful to be joined by someone who's not just making waves on the court, but also breaking barriers beyond it. Standing at a whopping 6'6", Ryan Agarwal is a guard for the Stanford Cardinals, known for his sharpshooting skills and relentless work ethic. Ryan's journey is one that's not only about his success in basketball, but also the fact that he's representing the hopes of millions as one of the few D1 players of Indian descent. He's determined to inspire the next generation and challenge stereotypes about South Asians in sports. From his roots in my hometown of Dallas, Texas, to being a top player on the Stanford Cardinals with the NBA in sight, there are only two players currently of Indian descent that have made it to the NBA. I am very, very sure Ryan is going to be the third. I am so excited to be joined by him today. Hello, Ryan. How are you doing today?
Hey Anya, thank you so much. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Happy to be here.
First thing that I wanted to talk about is, well, I always like to ask my guests about their childhood and kind of what brought them to this stage of their life. So, how would your close friends and family describe you as a kid?
As a kid, I think I was just kind of more free flowing, just
Mhm.
enjoying the moment a little bit. I didn't really have aspirations to go play college ball until like later in
Mhm.
high school. So
Okay.
I kind of just enjoyed playing basketball as more of just like a hobby.
Mhm.
And it wasn't really anything that I was really trying to work towards later in the future. So I think in a way that was helpful though, because I found such a big love for the game. But even outside the court, I took studies seriously, obviously having South Asian parents. That's
Mhm.
always usually a pretty big priority. And my parents made sure that was a big priority. My parents were pretty cool with me
Mhm.
having my friends over. So we'd kick it at the house all the time, playing video games, no, normal things that kids do.
Mhm.
I surrounded myself with those type of people, the active sports players, and I
Yeah.
think that helped me in the long run because I ended up continuing to play playing at this level as well. But it was good. It was a good childhood for sure.
That's good. I think it's always a rare balance to have someone who prioritizes like their social life and hang out with friends, but also has their studies on top of it, which I
Yeah,
think one of the things that I never really knew from getting from like recruited to D1 sports. Since I'm a senior in high school, a lot of my friends have gone through this process, and people
yeah,
think it is just about the sports. Your grades need to be just as good, if not better, to show these
yeah.
like top tier level schools that you are not only someone that can play for their team, but it could also represent their school.
That's very truthful. It depends on the school you're going to. They
Hmm.
definitely do look at grades as well. That's not just something
Yeah.
that's, like put to the side. It's very important. So, especially a school like Stanford and other Ivy Leagues take pride in the athletes that they recruit, um,
Absolutely.
and look for those athletes that, have high character, are very good at their sport, but most importantly, can perform well at their school because um, they're an example of their school once they get there. So, they have to be
Absolutely.
able to check off all the boxes once they get there.
Right. And you were kind of on the table to be a model for a lot of schools because I know you had offers from Rice, UPenn, Columbia, Harvard. And I wanted to ask what made Stanford stand out from the rest of these places and why did you end up deciding to be a Cardinal?
So yeah, that's a great question. There's a couple of reasons why. Well, first of
Mhm.
all, those Ivy Leagues, they don't offer scholarship, which kind of sucks. And
Yeah.
one of my main goals, going into college was to not make my parents pay for college, with all
Mhm.
the investment and stuff like that that they had put into me throughout high school and middle school
Yeah.
and even before. But just throughout the years, I think a big stepstone for me and what I really wanted to do was, to go to college for free and not
Wow.
have them worry about that.
Hmm.
And then secondly, Stanford's in a really high division of basketball. We were in Pac-12 first, my first 2 years in this new year. We
Yeah.
transferred conferences to the ACC, which is like,
Mhm.
another division with big time schools, Virginia, Duke, North Carolina,
Yeah.
all these big time schools. So, conference wise, it's just, it's high level, high major. And I
Mhm.
wanted to play at that level, play against the best.
Right.
And then, I mean, California is an amazing place. The weather is amazing. And it's not like I'm paying to stay to live here, right? Because otherwise, that would be a problem because it's pretty
Yeah,
expensive. But
it would
it's not
be.
Texas prices. But to be able to go to school at Stanford in California in Palo Alto, the people I'm meeting is unbelievable. And the fact that it kind of gave me both, being both at a high major, high conference, and providing me with a high education and at the end of the day, degree as well. So
Absolutely. Again, I think that shows the your parents and of course your siblings, I think they did a really good job at instilling that like well-rounded aspect in you because of course you're going to go play basketball, but you're not only thinking about that, you're also thinking about your studies, which I think is incredibly important. I want to just ask about like your future plans. Are you planning on staying in California? What's that going to look like for you? Of
Yeah, so I obviously enjoy college basketball a lot.
course.
I feel like I'm just getting into it right now.
Hmm.
Even though I'm only I'm in my third year school wise, second year basketball wise. But so the future's still kind of close future. I think I mean I know for sure I'll be around here at Stanford, but uh post Stanford, I hope to obviously play in the NBA or professionally at some level. And then after that, I have a Stanford degree to fall back upon, which isn't too bad of a thing. So
Absolutely.
I'm an economics major. So
Mhm.
there's a couple things I'll look to do post basketball, whether there's a lot of VCs out here, venture capitalists, and
Yeah.
venture capitalists worked alongside with them is something that I've kind of foreseen potentially being in my future.
Hmm.
Along with like my dad's a financial advisor and my
Right.
brother works in private equity. So just seeing their two lifestyles, different lifestyles,
Mhm.
I kind of like wealth management and financial advising.
Okay.
It's something that I could kind of, work towards.
So you have a very bright future ahead of you, one full of success, of course, not only in basketball, but outside of that in your career as well.
Thank you.
And one thing that I wanted to touch on was you talked about wanting to be in the NBA, and I said in your introduction that there are really only two players of Indian descent in the NBA. One of them played for the Dallas Mavs. I was reading about your article, and you talked about being like a trailblazer or role model for other Indian basketball players, and that is a role of immense pressure. And all you said was that it was an honor to represent your whole culture and basically country every time you step onto the court. How did you cultivate that mindset of looking at it as a blessing rather than a burden on your shoulders? Because it is a really hard burden to carry. And do you have a certain mantra or something that you tell yourself to prepare for games to kind of get you out into that like more positive mindset? Hmm.
I think it's way easier for me to embrace that and
Right.
embrace what I'm doing. Just because I know how the Indian community works, we're all very close families, very important. So when I have all these people supporting me, it's even if it's someone I don't know, I could. It's a whole heritage, right? So
Hmm.
for me, whenever I go on the court, I know this is bigger than me. It's bigger than basketball as well. It's for kids in the future generations in the future, but just to look past the stereotype of what, a skin color can do to you.
Absolutely.
And so for me, every day I know that when I'm in the gym or whenever I'm going to play, it's another step forward to continue doing that. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at when I'm playing,
Yeah.
taking steps to not just make a change for me or my little small circle back home, or I mean,
Mhm.
it's more about breaking barriers and breaking stereotypes for a whole culture, for a whole heritage. And I think that's what drives me to look past the pressure and feel more embracing the moment that I get the opportunity to be in this, situation, that I
Right.
was blessed with the opportunity to do this. So,
I love what you said about looking at it rather as a burden than as a heritage. Our culture, especially not only globally, but even the Dallas South Asian culture, they are so tight-knit and they are so
mhm.
supportive of everybody around them. And
Yeah, no, 100%.
I I think it must be wonderful to have all of these people cheering you on, but to also be able to remove yourself that's bigger than yourself. It's one of the things that's contributed to your success thus far.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I have a ton of family back home. I actually just so when I went to SMU to play,
Oh,
um, we went to SMU. Actually, we played a
yeah.
game. A lot of family come out, and it was just really cool to see such a
That's
support
sweet.
system.
I wanted to make sure that this interview was obviously about like your heritage, because that is one of the things that makes you stand out. But do you ever feel tokenized or reduced as the Indian basketball player rather than known for your skills as a player?
To an extent, for sure, there is a level of he is the Indian basketball player that's playing
Right.
well, like that, is playing. But a lot of the articles and papers and whatnot are more about the Indian descent. And for me, that's totally fine because not everyone gets to be in this position, right? And so for me, I want to publicize and push this to the max. So that way it can reach as many people as possible to inspire as many people as possible. So I'm not going to shy away or back away from, any aspect of that. to an extent, it definitely gets prominized a good amount. I don't know
Right.
if that's a word, but it sounded right. Um,
I'm
but
not really sure either, but we'll keep it in.
yeah, we'll just keep it. I had to put that in the dictionary, but I can't really shy away from that. So yeah, it's just part of me at this point, and I don't look down upon people who, put the word Indian there when they're talking about me. No, I'm just gonna embrace it. So
Of course. You're a junior in college. I feel like you have such a mature mindset, which is something that
thank you,
I
thank
think
you.
I would take away. Yeah, it's really, really
Says a
inspiring.
17-year-old radio host, but appreciate it.
Thank you. I definitely have a lot to learn from you. And not only about, like, of course, your basketball career, but otherwise you as a person. You said that you came to SMU. I wish I'd known, so I should have come. I live like
Uh,
so
it's
close to
okay.
SMU.
We didn't play too well that game, so it's not you didn't miss
Oh,
too much.
that's okay. That's all right. But speaking of games, what has been the most memorable game that you've played so far? And for you, is your most memorable game the one that you did bad in and that you use it as like a lesson, or do you remember the highs mostly?
Well, so actually, funny you asked that. Yesterday I actually hit a game winner. We played against NC State. Yeah, if you should go check out the end of the game after, and you'll see.
Yes, I will. I'll look at it. So exciting.
Yes,
My
thank you so much.
goodness.
Thank you. So,
Wow.
yeah, I did that.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you so much. So that is probably going to be the most memorable game
Right.
so far just because of that. But I think one of the most memorable games from my freshman year, I played UCLA, and I was
Mhm.
not in our rotation at all freshman year. I wasn't playing as much,
Right.
whatever. And then we go and we play UCLA at home, and they come out and they start beating us really badly.
Mhm.
And coach throws me in there for the first time in how many ever games, 5, 6 games, whatever I hadn't
Wow.
played. And I played solid, hit a couple threes, had a layup, whatever, had 8 points. Um,
Mhm.
but we were playing a really, really talented UCLA team that
Of
ended up
course.
making a really big tournament run. But
Yeah.
that was a really important game for me because I feel like my confidence, even to this day, grew a lot from that one game. Just knowing that I can play. It was like the first game I realized like, okay, I belong here. I can play
Mhm.
at this level and I can shine in these moments. There was a couple NBA players on that team. Jaime Jaquez, he went to the Heat.
Yeah.
And he's a big time player. So just in general, just to see how those guys have progressed and how I was able to battle and stuff from that game in that
Mhm.
game, um, it just helped provide a lot of fuel for up and coming games and up and coming seasons as well.
You talked about playing against some NBA players on that first game your freshman year, which one must be absolutely terrifying to play against them and then see where they go in the future.
Yeah.
But if you got the chance to, one, have a sit-down conversation, and after playing a game with or against an NBA player, who would you choose and why?
Oh, that's a great question. I think just because he's getting there and he's
Mhm.
played for so long, I think it'd be great to play against LeBron. I mean, that would just be super
Right.
cool, obviously. Ever since I was born, like
Yeah.
ever since I've been alive, I've been watching LeBron on my TV. So I think it
Mhm.
would just be super cool to share the court with him, play against him, whatever.
Of course.
But I obviously that's a big goal of mine to go to play in the NBA one day.
Yeah.
And so maybe that dream can come true. But I think that's the guy just because his longevity obviously is unreal. And he takes care of his body like nobody else. And so everybody in the world has something they can learn from LeBron. And I think it would just be really cool to share a court with him. So
Absolutely. And what is one question that you'd ask him? If we had to switch places and you were the interviewer and LeBron James was your interviewee, what's one thing
yeah.
you'd ask him?
I'd probably just ask him like, what's your best piece of advice you could give to, a 21-year-old trying to make it? That's probably what I would ask.
Of
Uh,
course.
and I'm sure he's probably been asked that, and I'm sure he's probably got a great answer. So
Definitely. With the way that so many people look up to him. And I look forward to seeing you guys on TV one day.
thank you. I hope so.
I'll know. And I'll know that I gave you the idea, even though I really don't pretend I did.
Yes, I'll make sure to tell him. I'll be like, yo, Anya told me to ask you, bro. What's
Yeah,
one piece
thank
of
you.
advice? Yeah, I got you.
I'll give you some interviewing tips too. I
I'll
got you.
take him.
You talked about the longevity of LeBron James, and that's something that everybody's going to know his name. The generations before us knew his name, the generations after us are going to know his name. When people talk about Ryan Agarwal like 10, 15 years down the line, what is one thing that you want them to take away from you and your journey, both in basketball and as a person?
Well, obviously, being in this role, it can be really easy to get cocky and feel like you're above people, and my parents have always kept me in check about that type of stuff, and always made sure I've stayed humble. We've there's been situations growing up where we've met people we've looked up to, and they're just very snarky, or
Yeah.
my parents have met their parents, and they think they're all full of themselves, and it kind of threw us
Mhm.
off a little bit because we're so excited to meet them, and then you meet them, and then they give this but kind of bad vibe, and it makes you kind of
Yeah.
feel bad. So
Mm.
I just, growing up and having those interactions where I never want to be that type of guy. So
Right.
just trying to be as down to earth, take the time to give everyone the time of day, because no one's above anybody. And on the court, obviously just being a big stepping stone in history, breaking the barrier that the skin defines how you if you're allowed to play on the court or not. My mantra is just being able to continuously prove that it's not going to be rare in the future
Right.
for Indians to be playing at this type of level and beyond. So when people look back at Ryan, I just hope they look at me as a major stepping stone, like I said earlier, towards our future goal of having numerous Indian of descent players playing in the NBA and overseas and at the NCAA level and everything.
You really already are one of those stepping stones with the amount of people that look up to you, and everything about you is so positive. And I can definitely tell that you are going to be such a big part in history because of the role that you play. And as someone I've interviewed a lot of people, and I've definitely, not only in interviews, but just in like life as someone in media, I've definitely met those people who success is a great thing. Success is like a
Yeah,
drug, and of course it can affect people. But the
100%.
fact that it hasn't for you, I think is very admirable.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That means a lot.
Wanted to ask about your routine, like your routine, not only as a D1 athlete, but of course as a junior in Stanford, which is one of the most academically rigorous schools in the country.
Yeah.
What is your daily routine, and what is something that would surprise us? Like, do you have a pink fuzzy sleeping mask that you use the night before the game? Like,
Yeah.
I need some dirt, like some tea.
So I don't have the best current, so I definitely have a sleeping mask, as you can see. I
Ooh,
have it.
okay.
Yeah. But
I was half
no, my
right.
routine is pretty so I'll say this. It depends on the quarter I'm in. So Stanford goes by a quarter system. It's not a
Right,
semester system. So we
right.
have our fall, winter, and spring. And each quarter you take different classes, right?
Hmm.
So you take less classes because it's a shorter span of time. It's
Yes.
only 10 weeks and you're done with the class. So
Wow.
it kind of depends. In the fall, I was taking 22 units. This
Mm-hmm.
quarter, because I'm in season, we're traveling so much, I'm only taking 12s. So out of season schedule, practices are really long. Practices are about 2.5, 3 hours long. That's
Oh,
preseason. So,
yeah.
and we're lifting every other day pretty much. So, it'd usually go, wake up. Practice would be usually at 8. So I'd wake up
Yeah.
around actually 6:30. We have to
Yes.
get there at 7, an hour before practice to get taped and everything and stretched
Yeah.
and warmed up. Then we practice from about 8 to, 10, 10:30, whatever, 11. And usually I try to get breakfast before. If I don't, you get it after. It kind of just
Yeah.
depends on the timing of the situation. Um, and then most guys will have class right after.
Yeah.
I definitely had class a couple of those days right after. So shower, get out of practice quick, go to class, grab something quick to eat after class, and come back for a lift.
Hmm.
And after lift, some guys would, some guys wouldn't get some extra shots up, whatever.
Yeah.
And then usually go back to another class later at night. And those guys that did get shots earlier will sometimes come back later at night.
Hmm.
Then go grab some dinner. And then usually homework slash tutoring, studying, hang out with friends, whatever. That's kind of the rest of your night. So that's kind of usually the off season, like kind
Busy.
of a gist. It's a busy schedule for
Yeah.
sure. It's just kind of back to back, from practice to class to lift to class to lunch or whatever. But in season's a little different. So in season, our practices are not as long, but our game days are very long. So,
Okay.
for example, like yesterday, we had a game at 4. We had to be in the gym by 11,
Wow.
um, for a shoot around where we
Yeah.
kind of talk through and stuff about the game.
Hmm.
And then we have a little bit of free time. We have a pregame meal with the
Okay.
team, a little bit of free time, and then we got to come back about 2 hours before the game. So yesterday the game was at 4. We had to be back by like around 1:50 to
Yeah.
get taped against once warm up. Get on the court, start doing a big team workout, warm up, and everything before the game. Um, but the thing is, when you have all that stuff, you miss a lot of class. So there's a lot of
Right.
extra work that you have to do outside of the um, those game days, like, either before or after the game, that you got
Hmm.
to make up because, you're not just gonna, can miss a
Can't
day and
skip.
not do
Yeah.
anything for it. Yeah, exactly. So, uh, with our new conference as well, we've been traveling
Mhm.
to the East Coast. So every other week during season, we've been going to the East Coast, and so we'll leave Monday and we won't
Yeah.
come back till the following Saturday night slash
Oh
Sunday.
my
So we'll miss
goodness.
a whole week of school. So in
Yeah.
these 10 weeks, we're gonna miss 4 weeks of full school. I think actually like 4.5 because we have a tournament at the
That
end.
sounds torturous. I hate missing
Yeah, it's
school.
it's torture. So most people would say they love missing school, but it's at a school like Stanford, it's really easy to get behind, if you miss a lot of school. So we just got to be really on top of it, staying update with our professors. We have an academic advisor that helps us with that
Right.
stuff, writing emails to make sure they're aware and we're all on the same page that we won't be on class or at class those days.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a lot of time management. Those are kind of this is kind of a quick little gist, but
Yeah.
everyone's schedule obviously is different.
Mhm.
I go in and shoot and lift usually a little bit on game days
Right.
before I shoot around and then come back for shoot around and stuff. So everyone has their own routine, but at the end of the day, it's just being able to time manage. So
Course. And I can see another way that you're breaking the Indian stereotype is being early everywhere. Being an hour
oh
early to
man,
practice sounds crazy as a
yeah.
person that's very used to being late.
What do they call it?
Indian Standard
IST?
Time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
IST. So yeah, well that's the thing. My coach doesn't know what that is, and he'll probably hopefully never know what that is because if he does, that means I'm gonna be running, lines on the court somewhere
Oh,
for being late. So hopefully he'll never end up knowing what that is.
we'll never, never know. We are coming to the end of this interview today. I wanted to give you a chance to add like a final takeaway. If there's one thing that people listening to this interview can only watch the end of it, what is one thing that you want them to take away from you and your story?
I think my biggest thing would be just, there's always a brighter side ahead. And I've struggled to see that a lot of times, especially coming from South
Yeah.
Asian heritage. I think there's a lot of reachable family and a big support system, even if not just from straight blood, but just from tight-knit community that we have. The overall consensus that I've learned from my story is there's so many ups and downs when it comes to life. And being at having this opportunity that I do to play at this level,
Yeah.
most people can see only the good stuff, and it's very important to know that life's going to be a roller coaster. I know mine has, and I'm sure most people has. And just understanding that, there's always a brighter side ahead, and there's always a high coming. The lows are not forever. So, yeah, just having that type of mindset in life, I think can take you a lot of places.
What a fantastic way to close out the interview. I couldn't have said any of that better myself. Thank you
Thank you.
so much, Ryan, for coming on. I know you are so incredibly busy with in the midst of the season, but for you to be coming on, giving us your time and being so thoughtful and kind with your answers. And
Thank you
I'm
so
so
much.
grateful that I was able to talk to you and
No,
be a little part of your journey.
thank you so much, Anya. I really appreciate it.